Welcome to tonight's edition of the Clown Podcast. I'm Scott Burks. Hello. Please check me out on www.theclowntimes.net. That's spelled out right here. All no spaces, of course. And you can also check me out on Facebook as well. So whether your smartphone, laptop, desktop, wherever you are, wherever you may be, you will find me there as well. Also, speaking of this, get the merch, please. Por favor, if you speak Spanish, at cafepress.com. Show to the Clown Time Sports. That link will be in the description. Once this gets uploaded to YouTube, you find the gear there as well. So, basically, your hats, t-shirts. Once it starts getting cooler, I'll start rocking the sweatshirts, hoodies, mouse pads, whatever you name it. I got them on cafepress.com. Again, search for the Clown Time Sports. The link will be in the description, so you'll find it there. And also, one last thing, please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'm over 500 subscribers, over halfway towards my goal of 1,000 by year's end, so I can get this channel monetized. So please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. This will help me to support the channel. You'll be glad you did, and I'll be glad you did. And so, drum roll, imaginary drum roll, please. We took a break of sorts from we kind of got back to it last week of previewing the HBCU, the major conferences, HBCU. We did the SWAC first. We followed that with the CIAA, followed that up with the SAC or the SEAC, depending on where you're from. And we're going to do it tonight with our beloved MEAC, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, with my man, y'all know him for the Yard/HBCU Sports, the rest of all things HBCU Sports, as well as Sleazy Radio every Tuesday night on Facebook Live and YouTube. And also, please check out his great work on herosports.com, where he's about all things FCS athletics as they pertain to HBCU sports. So without further ado, the man, the legend, not the myth, Dwayne Nash is back in the house to educate us on all things HBCU sports, but mainly focus on the MEAC tonight. So welcome, brother. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing great, Scott, but I got to interrupt MEAC talk real quick because there was big news coming out of Jackson, Mississippi yet again. Yes. Somebody needs to put a salary cap on coaching staffs now because, my God, first and foremost, when Coach Deion Sanders released this tweet saying that reports say that Mike Zimmer might be added to the Jackson State coaching staff, I found that to be hilarious, but he was right. So he added Mike Zimmer, the former NFL head coach, the former defensive coordinator, the former defensive backs coach, to his coaching staff. So you have a guy with about, if not more than 40 years of coaching experience on his staff as an analyst. So it's going to be very interesting to see what type of role he plays on that staff. If you're asking me, you're getting a guy who will come in and, of course, will get these players on this team NFL ready, and also potentially talk to other NFL coaches, and being a former NFL coach himself, potentially being another stamp of approval on HBCU guys, primarily those guys out of Jackson. And then the biggest thing, with him being an analyst on that staff, on the defensive side of the ball, helping that team make adjustments. And, we're talking about the SWAC today. Spoke with head coach Buddy Pugh at the MEAC Media Day. And now I'm paraphrasing him. I'm not quoting him. So I don't want people to think I'm out here trying to make Buddy Pugh look grimy. But one of my favorite plays out of the Celebration Bowl, 4th and 19, and South Carolina State went for it. And the reason why they were successful with that play was lack of adjustments. Hopefully, Mike Zimmer comes in and helps this coaching staff make those adjustments and come in with this and come in and compete, because not compete, dominate, because that's been the phrase that Deion Sanders has been touting ever since their media day. They want to dominate this year. And not only with the players they picked up, but with the coaching staff. Also, another pickup as of today, Former NFL punter Louis Aguilar will now be coming in and coaching the punters there at Jackson State. When I say they need a salary cap on the coaching staff, they need a cap on that staff ASAP. My God, there should be no excuses now. None.
Right. Correct.
You're coming in with a team that was 11-1 last year. You get the number one overall prospect to come join your team.
Mm-hmm.
You address the areas of need on that team. Your quarterback, who was SWAC Offensive Player of the Year. I'm sorry, not Player of the Year. He was SWAC Offensive Freshman of the Year. Also, Freshman of the Year nationally. He gets a year older. And now you add on to the coaching staff with the coaches that you have, along with adding a former Alabama strength and conditioning coach to your program too. If you don't dominate, I don't know what's wrong with that program. I don't if they don't dominate. That means you can't have games where you only win by 7. You can't have games that you only win by 3. You have to dominate everyone every week, in my opinion, as of right now.
You know what? The only thing that also I was hoping, and you kind of let this, which is why I kept wagging my finger more and more after you made those points about Zimmer's impact.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of course, being, Zimmer himself, but the experience, the NFL experience, which is invaluable to a staff and let alone staff on the FCS level. Like this,
yeah.
Right. And you mentioned when I did more finger wags on like garnering the attention of other NFL coaches, whether it be head coaches or assistant coaches. I was looking for you to land the ultimate impact that's been plaguing HBCU football for the last few seasons. And that's the attention of scouts. Because of a guy like Zimmer. Now, Zimmer is not a scrub. He was an excellent defensive coordinator, Dallas and Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, he was in Cincinnati only a few days ago. He was up here for training camp only a few days ago, talking to some of his former players on the defense. Okay. So his name is almost royalty like in Cincinnati because of that. I mean, he put together great defenses here. In spite of how the rest of the team as a whole performed. And he did an admirable job in Minnesota given what he was given.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Kirk Cousins. Yeah. So
hey, what you're not going to do
is
bash Kirk Cousins. I am a Kirk Cousins apologist. Now, I will say this. I know Kirk ain't top 10. But he has given top 10 numbers, and he's done so in multiple teams without a lot of help. Dalvin Cook, who's supposed to be there, wasn't there a lot of times for him. They dealt with injuries at the wide receiver spot too. They lose Stephon Diggs. That defense, which was supposed to be great when he got there, wasn't.
But Justin Jefferson, though.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson is a dog.
Most definitely.
He's a dog.
Most definitely.
He's a dog. So
yeah.
Gotta give him, and they still got this dude named Adam Thielen, right?
They most definitely still have Adam Thielen. But so I will say this: he's not elite, but he's pretty good. So I'm not going to sit here and talk. No, I'm not going to sit here and talk about and lament on Kirk Cousins much longer because this is not an NFL podcast. This is the HBCU podcast. But I got to come out and rep my man real quick. I do miss him here. God knows.
I'm sure you do.
But I've seen how that thing played out, and I understand why people criticize him. He just happens to be a guy who's at the right place at the right time, fiscally, and you can't blame him for that. You just can't.
And I won his agent. So anyway,
no.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out. That I mean, I know it's SWAC, I know it's the MEAC podcast. But sometimes it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a copycat. It's football at this level, in higher levels, it's copycat. It's all copycat.
Most definitely.
Do it. Now Deion's doing it. And other coaches, other coaches going to follow, maybe it be in the SWAC MEAC even to see how it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So yeah, so I think that's a good thing. Well, it's good for that. It's going to be good addition for the whole. So,
but two things real quick before we move on. One, we can't forget the fact of how latent that coaching staff already is with coaches that currently have NFL experience. So you add that coach with the others, you have, dude, if I'm a player there or if I'm a potential recruit and I'm thinking about an HBCU and they if I'm looking to go to the next level, they are, as much as I hate to see talent flood one program,
right,
it's kind of hard to deny that one with the amount of talent that they have in that coaching staff. And then two, to your point about the scouts already come. Scouts come into games ain't the issue. I still say it's the belief process on the decision makers within the NFL, be it the head coaches, be it the general managers, be it the team presidents or owners. That's the ones that I have the issues with, not the scouts, because the scouts come out and evaluate these guys. They know who these guys are. A lot of times, they come into the mini store draft day and they go ahead and they campaign for their guy. It just happens to be that their guy just doesn't get selected because, the coaches and the powers that be don't get an opportunity, because we all know this is a trust business. And if they don't know you, they won't trust you.
Right.
And they don't have they won't take the opportunity to get a chance to know these guys. And that's where they're hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. On that note, let's get to MEAC Media Day. So you were there, obviously. I know you have some thoughts, being that we're both, for those people who don't know, they should know by now who follow this. We're MEAC guys. We both graduates, whether it be graduate school or undergraduates, of North Carolina A&T State University, which was once upon a time for many years, and the MEAC.
Yes.
So that's where we get our love and affinity.
A founding member. Let's not forget that part.
In 1970.
1970.
Yes, 1970. So, which they were formerly of UCLA. So, but at any rate, that's where we got our affinity for the MEAC from, and still to this day.
Still to this day.
So, and given the recent news, the past couple of seasons, teams affecting, whether it be to the SWAC, FAMU, Bethune-Cookman, or to other PWI conferences, our beloved A&T, Hampton,
to the Big South, and subsequently to the CAA.
CAA, exactly. So
A&T will be taking that exact same path next year, football-wise. Yeah.
So it's like we're both wondered, and many others wondered, what would become of the MEAC in the next few seasons, right? The next few years. It's caused a lot of worry amongst us A&T alumni, because let's face it, we still rock with the MEAC, right? And many other fans that was once as either currently or once upon a time affiliated with the defection of the MEAC. But at any rate, so bring us back to Media Day. So describe to me the vibe and your thoughts on Media Day, how that was and how that.
Well, the vibe this year was a little bit different than years past. Well, it's probably like this in 2020 was virtual, but 2019. So I've been there. I think it was 2018, 2019. And those years, fans were there. So this was the first year that I've attended that fans did not come. They also had a luncheon. They would normally have a luncheon along with the Media Day. Yeah. So this year, without the fans, no luncheon. It was just basically the coaches, SIDs, the staff from the MEAC, and media there covering the event. I will say this: if you haven't seen the MEAC Media Day, go to ESPN Plus, go to YouTube, check it out. The look of it was most definitely upper tier in terms of his presentation.
Good.
When Commissioner Sergeant Stills told me that I would be surprised by the look, I kind of shrugged my shoulders. I said, yeah, okay, we'll see. Because I mean, in years past, even with the luncheons, they still had a great set up in terms of their presentation stage where they would do interviews with the individual coaches and sometimes the players on stage with my man Jay Walker and Tiffany Green out of Florida A&M. So after leaving the media area and going into that room, Scott, when I say that I was floored when I walked in there, yeah. They did their job, a wonderful job
Good.
of it.
Good.
Got a chance to speak to a few of the players, got a chance to speak to majority of the coaches. Unfortunately, the only coach I didn't get a chance to speak to was Trey Oliver. It seemed
Okay.
as though that every time he was available, I wasn't, and vice versa. I most definitely get a chance to speak with him in the coming weeks, though. But got a chance to speak to the rest of the coaches, a few of the players, got answers that I was looking for as it pertained to this
Okay.
upcoming season. So, I most definitely will dive into those as we go a little bit further with this podcast.
Okay. And so basically that's pretty good to know. So spirits were up, it sounds like, and they did a knockdown job in the presentation. That's very good. That's very good. So basically this leads me to this. We touched upon this last week. We were talking about the SIAC course,
Mm-hmm.
with regards to expansion. And that led us to the conversation of how it affected MEAC, and which led to a slight conversation of the 5-year plan that you touched upon just a little bit last week. So I want you now this is a MEAC podcast to expound on that 5-year plan. And that will lead into some other questions and topics that we're going to touch on. But just give us a skinny, if you will, on this 5-year plan and how it came to be, what it is, and pretty much how the alums should probably feel about this.
Well, Scott, that's the thing. It
Mm-hmm.
was relatively skinny. And that's what the problem is. For those who haven't seen the plan as of yet, it is a 6-page document.
Mm-hmm.
Two of which are covers, front and back.
Right.
One is like kind of like an intro. Then another page is of what their or their values are. And then there was another page, I forgot what that was. And then there was a page that was, I guess, supposed to have been of goals, but they were extremely vague. There were no specific goals. And for those who have done business plans before, there's some sort of specificity, if that's a word, sarate, that have to come with your business plan. You have to be specific and have some sort of detail. And it says it's supposed to be over 5 years. At least speak about what you plan on doing within the conference over 5 years. And of course, the alums and the fans of the conference are going to want to know specific things about the conference. Primarily, how is this conference going to grow? There's probably two versions of this plan, though. The version that was released to us, and probably a plan that was released to the university presidents and the athletic directors there.
Mm-hmm.
My hope is that their version was more detailed than ours, because if not, I really don't know what they're going to do. My takeaways from that whole thing were this: number one, why was this business plan released weeks after the media day? My guess, and this is just my guess,
Right.
that maybe they heard rumblings from whomever asking what the plans for expansion for the conference were, and got a little worried and decided to release something. But my thing is, with the people who I've talked to at media day, they seem to be a little. I don't want them. I don't want this to make them sound as though they're dumb or ignorant, but they seem to be baffled, as are a lot of people on the landscape of collegiate athletics right now, because we don't know. There's so much movement going on right now. We really don't know what to expect, and they're probably waiting on things to become a little bit more stable, so that they can have a general idea of what they need to do in order to or who they need to focus on in terms of attracting new membership. Now, of course, there's some people out there who will probably say that they need to be more proactive than reactive. And I'm in
Right.
agreement with that a little bit. But my thing is, if you're going to attempt to attract um, new members to your conference, why are they coming to you? I'm going to need to know, or if I'm a potential, um, a team that a school that you're focusing on, I'm going to need to know why I'm coming to your conference. Will your
Right.
conference continue to be stable? Will you lose another member or not? You got to remember, Howard was on the fence about leaving just a few months ago before they decided
Remember
to
that.
stay.
Yeah.
And there was discussion about them potentially moving over to the CAA. And mind you, there is still another slot there open to make that conference. I think 14 or 16. Well, either an even number for the
Hmm.
CAA, and they need another member, so it's a possibility they may come back to that well yet again. But if it's not Hampton, will it be another member out of the MEAC that potentially leaves? Okay, what does your media rights deal look like? Is it going to be fiscally attractive enough for me to want to move over from where I currently am over to where you currently are? Now, with Campbell being a member that's leaving the Big South going over to the CAA,
Mm.
there's been discussion that maybe the MEAC should attempt to poach a couple of the remaining Big South members that are there, even though the Big South has merged with the OVC as of right now. You know, do you
Oh, I
go
know that.
after?
Okay. Okay. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
do you go after the members of the Big South, which is within you? Excuse me, your same footprint to try to help out your football side. Do you go after the two northern schools that are there, the Bryant and Robert Morris, or do you go after the two southern schools that are there in Gardner Webb and Charleston Southern? That's something that could be addressed,
I
or
think
something
Charleston
that could be
Southern would be a
questioned.
good addition. That's just
You
me
know,
because it'd be a natural rival for South Carolina State.
exactly. And same with Garner Webb and North Carolina Central. Um,
Yeah.
so those are things that could be questioned. Of course, everyone loves to bring up um, the CIAA and Division II members. That was something else that was told of me too. That there is currently a moratorium on programs moving up from Division II up to Division I. So that's something that's
Mhm.
going to have to be weighted out as well. And then, of course, we talked about the fiscal aspect of Division II programs moving up to Division I before. Will those programs be able to handle it? And if so, will the MEAC be a place that they want to call home? So those are all things that need to be thought about. I just wish that either one, they would have thought out this plan a little bit more,
Right.
or two,
Would be nice.
yeah, or two, Scott, be real, just like F it. I don't
Yeah.
care what you're saying right now. We're still trying to figure out exactly what's going on right now. We
Right.
won't say anything. Football season's coming up in a few weeks. We'll address it when it's time to address it. But right now,
Hmm.
as of right now, we don't necessarily have anything that we can give you as of right now. It makes you look. I would prefer them say nothing than to say what they said.
I think they said what they said. I'm just spitballing, obviously, but
Hmm.
I think they said what they said to garner some hope
Hmm.
amongst not only fans, schools, but the fans, right?
Hmm.
um, to think that or want them to believe that they're thinking of something in Norfolk. I think that's what they're
Yeah.
so I don't know. It's just to me, upon hearing that, I still worry. I still worry about the long-term health of the MEAC. I still worry that it's just a dead conference walking
Hmm.
at this point because it seems to me I mean, I think we all learned the lessons of expansion, no matter what level it's on, Power Five, whatever. You cannot afford to be reactive. You have to be proactive. You
Hmm.
have to be. That's why going back to the Power Five. That's why our beloved ACC is in trouble.
Hmm.
They've been reactive instead of proactive. Like ESPN, long ESPN contract notwithstanding, they've been usually reactive instead of proactive, right? So the conferences, the Big Ten and SEC, they've been very successful not only for good football play, but they've been proactive.
Mm-hmm.
They strike when no one's expecting them to strike, right? So, you're thinking about the SWAC. FAMU and Bethune defecting to the SWAC. Now, it may have been rumored for years that that FAMU may have been thinking about that, at least from a cost kind of perspective of travel.
Most
But
definitely.
no one thought that Bethune was going to follow them.
No.
And so, no one thought that A&T, I beloved A&T, would lead the MEAC in the first place.
Scott,
So,
I'll tell you this. When I was originally told that A&T will be leaving the MEAC, this was years before they made the announcement. I looked at that person and I said, "You're crazy, dude." Because this was on the heels of Hampton leaving. They came to me and told me A&T is leaving too. I said, "Dog, you're crazy. There's no way they're leaving. There's no way."
right.
And then when that announcement, when the thing started to leak, I said, "Oh my God, he was right. He was right." Huh. But that's the thing. You for the three conferences that we said, it has to be something there within those conferences that make me want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And the MEAC has to find out what that is for them to use as their selling point to make other programs want to go.
Yeah. So, what rumors? I know you said that the MEAC taking a wait and see approach.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, I'm getting this plug here. My laptop's about to die. You know, like taking a wait and see approach as it pertains to expansion, because, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
there's still parts that are waiting to be moved, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are moving parts going on, but there's some others that are waiting to be moved. So again, because we talked about this before, what goes on at the Power 5 level has a trickle-down effect, not on the Cooper 5, but on the FCS level, and then Division 2 level.
Yeah.
It's a trickle-down, because why? Big conferences approaching small conferences on the FBS level are looking to approach FCS conference, FCS
Mm-hmm.
schools. We've seen this. We've seen James Madison making a move up. We've seen Appalachian State move up. We've seen Coastal Carolina move up. Liberty, we've seen move up. Yeah, independent, but they're about to join the conference soon. So we've seen this. And then, like even on FCS level, they poach other conferences.
Mm-hmm.
Some Division 2 schools that have before or are looking to move up. So it's a trickle down effect, right? Which is fascinating as hell. But having said all of that, there has to be some rumors about who the MEAC is looking to poach. You mentioned a couple earlier. So I think you mentioned something about Charleston Southern earlier, in particular. But what are some that you're hearing through a rumor mill, or he said, he heard from another cat type of deal? Like, what are you hearing right
Well, the Big South, of course, the Big South theory is just that, a theory, in hopes from fans, because they think it makes sense, and it kind of does with the footprint. The thing is, though, of course, adding two PWI programs to this HBCU, what type of issue does that necessarily cause? Celebration Bowl, and if you have a PWI playing in that championship game, how does that necessarily affect the validity of that game being the national championship game for Division One HBCUs? Also, with that said, just what other logistical things that may have to or may not have to be played out when that happens. But again, those are all just theories, as well as the old theories of the CIAA programs, primarily Bowie State and Virginia State, moving over. But both programs have said no. And then again, speaking, and not even just speaking, but you listening to the two commissioners, Commissioner McClellan of the SWAC, and of course Stills of the MEAC, have both come out and said that the whole concept of the MEAC Super Conference, you might as well go ahead and kill that as of right now too. So right now, no names are being tossed around now. But, all I can say is, and then, of course, with the whole Chicago State thing being voted down a few months back, too, for basketball only, I really don't know what their plan is. But my thing is, they don't necessarily have to move swiftly because of the fact that they're playing in the Celebration Bowl. They don't have to have an AQ, so they don't have to have minimum members. But my thing is, once the 6-year deal comes to an end in another 5 years, what will the Celebration Bowl do, being that the MEAC currently has 5 members? And then what happens over the next 5 if it becomes one-sided with the SWAC? And I mean, let's be realistic, it was really one-sided with A&T. Well, A&T. It was one-sided. Well, with the MEAC, because of course South Carolina State and their victory this past season. So I'm wondering what the fans' outlook on this game will be if it becomes one-sided going towards the SWAC, and how the fans will continue to attend this game, and then how it will be looked upon at that point, and what the future of that game will be. And then, of course, because of course that's one attractive piece of bringing someone over to the MEAC, is that you can tell them that you're playing in a bowl game that has an automatic payout.
Right. So what I'm hearing is, combined with the moratorium that you eloquently spoke of earlier, and the fact then the logistical sticker points of possibly recruiting PWIs into a historically Black conference, HBCU football conference. It sounds like to me, and also Mr. Moratorium from D2. It sounds to me that this is a dead conference walk.
Could be. I mean, they still have the 8 members in basketball and other Olympic sports, so that helps them out. Football wise, like I said before, it doesn't necessarily matter to them having 6 members because they play in the Celebration Bowl. But so it only matters to them until it does. As of right now, and for the next 5 years, it won't. So, I mean, until they're forced to get more members, as of right now, no one seems interested, and they're not necessarily in a rush to do anything. And they most definitely want to make sure they make a move that's going to be hugely beneficial to them as a conference.
Yeah. So they'll be forced to make a move? I mean, given the money that's possibly at stake, given the fact that even though they have 8 total members in basketball and Olympic sports, right? And they only have, you say 6 members for football?
6 members for football, yeah.
Damn. I would say, I guess if they have 8 members for basketball and other in the Olympic sports, I guess they'll be fine because they have 8 especially in basketball. I think that would save them from becoming extinct, at least for the time being. Which means, but
keeping their head above water.
Yeah, that's true.
Making a way when you can. Yeah.
But you're not, at least they're not drowning. No. But I'll say this though. That means that they would have to, like, the MEAC would have to find games out of conference. Now, I don't know how that would translate. I mean, they probably won't have room. I don't think any SWAC school will have room to play them in the regular season. Not many of them. Just because they're in a full conference of what, 12.
You mean in football?
Yeah, football, yeah. Like they could play A&T, they could play.
Well, they have been. And that's where some of these relationships come in. With Central, they have a 10-year deal. With year 2 coming up this year with A&T. South Carolina State has a deal with A&T. Norfolk State has a couple of years with A&T as well. South Carolina State has also been playing Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M in recent years, with them moving out of the conference. But my question is, at what point will that dry up? But my thing is, the likes of A&T and Hampton are going to continue to want to play at least one HBCU out of the conference, so they can continue to have that relationship. So, but A&T is basically set for the recent future with their games that they currently have set up.
Right.
But you're asking about the other teams. They've been basically setting up games with teams in the NEC. Delaware has most definitely been playing. Delaware State has most definitely been playing Delaware.
Right. That's good too. That's good.
Morgan has a rivalry with Townsend. So they have ways of filling up these matchups, but yeah, they got ways.
Now, who has a rivalry with Townsend? Right quick, I'm sorry.
Morgan State.
Morgan State. Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. They're both Baltimore, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course they got a series with Lincoln out of the CIAA coming up in a couple of years. So they're figuring out ways to fill up that schedule. But the thing is, of course, their only concern is just making it to the Celebration Bowl. So they just play whoever they want to play in those other 4 or 5 of those 5 games and do it that way. And then we'll also talk about some very special matchups that Howard has coming up this season as well.
Nice. Yeah. Gosh. I still think Howard's not done looking around.
No, neither do I. Neither do I.
I don't think, excuse me, because it's one thing for them to see Hampton, with that big rivalry they have with them, get their cheddar elsewhere, and then just sit around not do anything about it. But it's another to see other former conference mates, A&T, out looking and greener pastures, albeit in the next 2 schools and another HBCU conference, but FAMU obviously and Bethune, even though that's a more natural fit for those schools, in my opinion. But still, for a school like Howard, considered the Black Ivy League school, right? The Black version of Harvard, rather, to sit back and do nothing.
Well, it's not that they did nothing. They chose not to go anywhere. That's where that comes in, and that's more so because of their current president, Frederick, who's out the door. I think at the end of this academic year. So, questions most definitely will be asked over the next calendar year on what they need to do in terms of athletic membership. Do they continue to stay in the MEAC, or do they leave? Now, that's the thing, of course, is President Frederick's relationship with the conference and the fact that he most definitely allegedly does not want to be considered as the MEAC killer if Howard leaves. So the
next person just has to not give a essentially.
Probably.
Yeah, there you go. And that could easily happen. Especially if it's an outsider, so to speak.
If it's an outsider who doesn't have a connection with the conference, if they don't hire from within, or if they don't hire an alum to come in, which I doubt very seriously. But if they hire someone that sees the MEAC and says, you know what, I don't trust them over there. This doesn't look good. We need to find something that's going to be beneficial for us. We got to save us if nobody else will. Maybe they will pull the trigger, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah, and so before we move on, I just want to speaking of like football and stuff to look forward to. So just going to read a quick shout out to our sponsors, BetUS.com, right quick. So, listen up, sports bettors. Your favorite sports book, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers members the opportunity to cash in on all of your favorite sports, including the NFL, UFC, and MLB, probably college sports too. If you're looking for live in-game betting, incredible odds with daily odds boosters, props, and parlays, we got it. So check this out, man. How about fast payouts and exceptional one-on-one customer service? We got that too. So log into betus.com or call 1-800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BET-US. And you can also use the promo code TKT for Klown Times if you want these special features as well. So betus.com where the game begins. All right. So had all that melancholy news concerning the MEAC, but we'll close out on a happy note with this. Is how we predict how this season will end, how it will shape up, right? So South Carolina State, led by Buddy Pugh, won the MEAC last year and thumped, and I mean thumped, curb stomped, beat the hell out of, bludgeoned Jackson State and Coach Prime in the Celebration Bowl, which caused lots of celebration for the MEAC, I'm sure. So so you tell me, like we've been doing this before, give me who the writers, sports writers voted for, and give me who Nostradamus, if you will, predicts.
Well, let's correct that. It's Nostradamus.
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 Excuse me. Nostradamus. There you go.
So, predicted order of finish, as I always do, give it to you based upon what the conference has, coming from 6th to 1st, starting with Morgan State, who actually got a first place vote. Howard comes in at 5th. They also got a first place vote. Delaware State coming in at 4th with one first place vote. And my God, Rod Milstead was not happy about that 4th place vote. 3rd place, Norfolk State. 2nd place with one first place vote, North Carolina Central, and 1st place with 8 first place votes, South Carolina State.
So do you agree with that? So do you see that, in your opinion, differing from the voters?
The only difference that I have is that 3 and 4 slot with Delaware State and Norfolk State. I question whether or not Norfolk State will look as good as they did last year. This is the same program that starting around mid-September went on a 6-game run,
right?
Only to finish the season out on a 3-game losing streak. You now lose your dynamic signal caller and what is his name? Juwan. Juwan Carter. I'm sorry, not Juwan. Oh my God, you almost threw me off with that too. But yeah, Juwan Carter, was dynamic throwing the ball and running the ball for Norfolk State last year. You lose him, but you do have the preseason offensive player of the year and J.J. Davis, running back there, that will be starting for Dawson Odoms and Norfolk State. The reason why I got those two teams, well, the loss of the quarterback, but Delaware State, who had the #1 defense in the conference last year, is returning all 11 starters, Scott.
Oh, wow.
All 11 starters. And they're starting quarterback, who's another year within the system. And even though, their dynamic wide receiver, Trey Gross, who graduated, and Syvon Wilkinson, who transferred to Jackson State, are no longer with the program. Head coach Rod Milstead is in love with his receiving core and his running back starter there. So that's the one spot where I have the one flip, with Delaware State coming over in 3rd and Norfolk State in 4th. But I will say this, it's going to be a hot box then in the MEAC, dude. It's a race to 5 games.
Yeah.
Whoever can get 4 first, in my opinion, wins. But, South Carolina State, which is returning 9 offensive and 7 defensive all-conference preseason selections to their program. They're going to be tough, but the thing was they squeaked out a lot of games last year. Then you have North Carolina Central, who was basically 3 points away from winning the conference last year, and they're continuously turning the program around under head coach Trey Oliver after going 6-5 last year. Their quarterback Darius Richard or Richard depending upon where you're from.
Mhm.
Their quarterback was first team All MEAC. So, he's returning this upcoming season. I already talked to you about Delaware State and Norfolk State. One of the other things that Norfolk State has an issue with that I'm a little concerned about was that they finished the year last in defense last year, and they gave up an average of 32 points per game in their last 3 conference losses last year. So, yeah,
Mhm.
if they can't turn that around, it's going to be a problem. Then another team that could be sneaky good this year is Howard. Now, I'm a little
Okay.
concerned about Howard because um, they only technically played 2 games in Green Stadium this year, but they had the longest tenured starting quarterback in the conference in Quentin Williams. My God, they have talent in skill positions. You have um, wide receiver Antoine Murray. That's first team All MEAC. Then you have Ian Wheeler and Jared Hunter, which are second team All MEAC.
Mhm.
And then we can't forget about God, what is his name? Edgerrin James's son,
Okay.
Eaton James. So that running back by committee there at Howard is going to be monstrous behind that good offensive line and that defense, which is steadily improving, led by Kenny Gallup and my homie, who gave me a wonderful brunch suggestion, Darren Brockenberg. So
Okay.
that's another team that looks to be strong this year. And then Morgan State with first-year head coach Damon Wilson, basically hired just a few months ago. I know he's still trying to implement his identity with this program, and they only had one preseason All MEAC selection in DB Javion Morton. So I'm still kind of intrigued to see exactly how this program is going to look. Um, they got some tough games against the likes of they start the season out with Georgia Southern. Like I said before, they play Townsend, Sacred Heart, St. Francis, right before they end up playing their conference slate too. So yeah, at this point, I have 5 teams that can legit compete to win this conference right there. If for the likes of like a Howard, if the ball bounces right for them and they continue to improve based upon what I've seen from them in recent years, they most definitely could be a threat too.
That's outstanding. That's outstanding. All right, that's some good news to close the show on with. That's great. Thank you for the good news to close the show with. The MEAC. I mean, hey, we love the MEAC, right? We do. I've said off air, off camera, that we can't have the SWAC be the only major HBCU conference in football, really,
No,
right? We can't
no,
have
and
that. We can't have that.
Sergeant
So,
Stills feels the exact same way. But before we go, the one thing that I almost forgot to talk about were the 2 special games for Howard this year of this upcoming season,
okay,
where they play against programs from the Ivy League in back-to-back weeks in October. So
really, do tell.
they play at Yale in early October, and then the following week they play at Audi Stadium, of course, the home of the DC United,
Right.
and they're going to end up playing against Harvard there in the Truth and
What?
Services Classic. Yes.
So, Joe, so people don't realize this is perfect way to close the show. This about this MEAC show tonight. People do not understand the impact of the upcoming Howard Harvard game, because as I mentioned earlier, way back in the day, Howard was called the Black Harvard. It was called that. It was prestige. It was very prestigious. Still is, obviously, but this prestige was huge. And people thought that they called that because the way how it came about and how distinguished it was at the time, they really called, some people really called Howard the Black Harvard. They did. So you can Google that, folks. I'm not making this shit up. You can actually Google that. Okay. So I think it's cool to have that game being played in Audi Field this year. That would
Oh,
be
the
awesome.
Black Ivy League legit exists.
Yeah.
You
And
know, you
yes,
have
they do.
programs like like Howard,
Yes, I should say.
Morehouse,
Mhm.
Spellman. I think Fisk is part of that
I'm sure Fisk is,
grouping
yes.
as well. So
Yes.
yeah, there's just a grouping of us of like 7 or 8 HBCUs that make up the Black Ivy League. Yeah.
Yes. So this again, this is Googleable, folks. We're not saying this because we are HBCU alums. That's a fact. There's a Black Ivy League, if you will, and that history with Howard and Harvard. That's true. So again, Google it. You'll thank us later. All right. Great way to close the program, brother. Thank you for that.
No problem.
And also, please continue to check this brother's great work. I say it every time the man comes on here. He's picked up quite a few followers on Twitter, not just because of me, because he's doing great work. You see on this backdrop, yardhbcu.com. Again, we rap about all things HBCU sports. Sleazy Radio every Tuesday night on Facebook Live and YouTube. And last but not least, his great work on herosports.com talks about FCS athletics that's obtained through HBCUs. Please follow my website. I'm going to blog on it. I've been telling folks I'm going to blog. I'm sorry, I've been busy with the day job. It's been keeping me busy. I may have had a career shift for the better, right? And I've been putting my energy into that, as well as tying up some loose ends as being a family man and a dad. So I promise you, with the upcoming NFL season, with these college seasons kicking off, Power 5, HBCUs, I'm going to be doing something, okay? I promise you, you'll see something on the blog. Don't give up on me. I promise you. So www.theklowntimes.net. Get the merch at cafepress.com. Search for the Clown Time Sports. Also, please, I beg you, please, continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. You be glad you did? Now I'll be glad you did. And one last thing check out our good friends at betus.com. Sports bettors, your favorite sports book, betus.com is prepped for 28th year NFL action. Live in-game betting, incredible odds with daily odds, boosters, props, and parlays, fast payouts, and exceptional one-on-one customer service. You got it all. Log into betus.com or call 1-800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BET-US. Use the promo code TKC for Clown Times. BetUS.com where the game begins. Take care. Sayonara, all that stuff. We out here.